In this episode of K-Pop Hot Issues, we'll discuss Kris Wu, Hybe, Kakao, and CJ Takeover SM. Big Hit paves the way over music producers. SM claps back against Saesangs, and K-pop fans rally for sustainability.
This is the Kpopcast, bringing you the best sounds and ideas in K-pop each week. I'm DJ Peter Lowe.
I'm your PD named Michaela.
And I'm your host, Stephanie. And take us away with the first news headline, PD Neem.
Our first headline is former EXO member Kris Wu detained in China on R-word allegations.
R-word?
Yes, R-word allegations.
Oh, yikes.
Yes, so according to Yonhap Entertainment, or Yonhap News, the Beijing police said to have taken him into criminal custody on R-word charges after allegations from multiple females.
Minors.
Yes, minors. Yes. Again, they haven't released anything specific as to the update as to, whether he's actually being, charged. We just know that they're investigating him currently.
Like, do you believe the allegations? Is it something that you just wait until?
I'll wait and see. But I feel like we have to remember this caveat, the fact that this is happening in China, and China doesn't have an independent judiciary, and it also likes to just destroy its celebrities to create scandal, to distract people from other things. Like I said, I don't want to say that, I would want them to definitely investigate this and take all of these women's allegations seriously. But there are just a lot of things going on with this story, because he's a huge celebrity in China, and they don't like their celebrities to get too huge.
I hadn't thought about that angle. Thanks, Michaela.
Yeah. That's just where I'm coming from. I am a Kris fan, but I'm not delusional in thinking that he isn't capable of doing this. But like I said, I feel like there's a lot to take into this. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think as a responsible K-pop fan, like, this is like maybe the right thing to do is to like kind of hold and pause.
Exactly.
Not take a side necessarily. Of course, be willing to listen to those who are lacking in power and the power dynamics. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
certainly you want to air and hear the concerns from those who are raising these allegations, because it takes certainly a great deal of bravery to do this.
Yeah, and especially
it's not easy.
They're minors. That
Yeah.
Okay.
So, next news headline.
Mm-hmm.
Hybe, in its continuation of taking over the K-pop industry.
World domination.
As well as, Hybe is not alone. So, Kakao and CJ&M, or CJ Entertainment. Sorry, I don't know what CJ Entertainment, are reportedly running for the takeover of Lee Soo-man's shares in SM Entertainment. So, and I guess Lee Soo-man did he already sell his shares, or is he in the process of it right now?
He probably announced it, but he hasn't sold yet.
Yeah. Specifically, they reported that they denied Hybe the sale of shares.
I
Bang
think
PD snubbed again. I'm watching the drama Imitation right now.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Michaela, for the tip. And there's just like so much petty actions going on between the different K-pop label CEOs in the show. So I ripped from the headlines as far as I'm concerned.
I know, right? I don't know what's real or fake.
And Bang Shi-hyuk are not on good terms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so weird because American publicly traded companies, executives are like, they don't get to decide as much as it is like, they speak with a board and they plan out
right.
year plus out, like, okay, we're just going to sell it on this day, and whatever the market is what it is. So Because they don't want to like have that like an executive selling shares to be an indicator of a business one way or another.
Okay, because for me, I was like the shares they said is like 18.75% stake in the company, so it's like about $2 to $3.5 billion, which is a lot. And it just made me think of the fact that the story that we talked about with Emily last time about how the fact that SM is no longer a blue chip company.
Yeah.
You know, it is, I don't know much about business, but is, you know, this kind of like them, you know, fronting and reminding them that they're worth that much. Or, you know, is it a way to regain some kind of footing with in terms of like maybe, you know, going back up to that blue chip status?
The world may never know.
They're sliding down. That's the only story here. And Isuman's trying to get out while he can.
Oh gosh,
on the golden parachute kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe because he has been like very much the front man in the past few months. Like, you know, when they had that Congress and he was kind of like front and center throughout the whole thing. Yep. It does kind of feel like he's taking a step back from business and being more of like an artist creator personality kind of thing.
It's the dream.
Well, one thing that kind of surprised me in this story that you linked to us, Michaela, so this is from bandwagon.asia. The author wrote that SM Entertainment currently holds 20% of Korea's entertainment market, just behind HYBE, who controls 33%. And I, you know, honestly, my like non-scientific, non-quantitative, like armchair couch, you know, fan speculation, anecdotal perspective, it felt like HYBE owned more. But it just shows you that, SM still got like a fighting 20% of the entertainment market. So, of course, you know, we know the trajectory, the direction right now, but, you know, imagine HYBE, you know, acquiring all that.
Well, they're not getting any of SM, at least. They're not getting any of that 20% from SM.
All right.
Love the pettiness.
But speaking of HYBE, we have a story about one of their sub-labels, Big Hit Music. So it was reported that Big Hit Music is accused of using producers as free labor for TXT's comeback.
So what this came about because I can't pronounce this producer's name.
It's probably
but
Guppy.
Yeah.
So they were popping off on Twitter saying that the K-pop band TXT pitted a bunch of hyper pop producers against each other without telling any of them. And I'm curious who got chosen to do the beat. This is reported from like the archive of his tweets that Korea Boo made that are now deleted. So I don't know. He's accusing them
his
of
second tweet says, I didn't get chosen to do the beat and I spent weeks on it. So I'm leaking the info. LOLOL. More petty. Keep it coming.
It's funny because like, you know, sometimes like agency world, like you'll all be pitching the business and you're pitching a business against other agencies and you don't always know who's in the running. So you'll be like, oh, you know, I guess I didn't get it. Who did? And then like then you start being more public about like, you know, trying to figure out who's left in the running. But yeah, I mean, like you would, I don't know, like part of me wants to say like, you would kind of expect this to be like the RFP, RFI model where it's like, yeah, we're going to put up this request and we'll just kind of pick. I guess the issue is that like all these producers, they uniquely produce music, hooks, sounds, or ingredients of a song.
Yeah, specifically for this project.
Yeah.
And that's why I was actually surprised because like from my minimal knowledge of the music business industry, I thought, you know, when you get commissioned to produce a demo, you would get paid for that work, even if it's not picked. Like they're still asking you to put in time and effort, but I think it's just like there are just so many more producers than there are paying labels that they can pick and choose. And I
think that's by design. That's intentional. That's the monopoly at work, which doesn't want workers to be able to negotiate or demand a wage at all, just to do free labor. Like I'm reminded of, you know, in the like, I don't know, before the Great Depression, the industrialization, where workers would line up outside the factory hoping to get picked to get work that day for a few hours. And the boss would just like pick whoever he likes or whoever his nephew is married to, whoever his niece is married to or something. And the workers just had no power until they all got together and started telling each other and organizing and moving as a unit. So I'm reminded here of, I don't know if y'all remember Tiffany Red, who like tweeted or post on social media about how K-pop labels often take the hard labor of producers and don't credit them, don't pay them at all, even after promising to do the above. So I am, not surprised that all of the labels are just doing what they can get away with if and until the workers or the producers in this case band together and demand something else.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what it's going to take. And I think it's funny. Like, so again, Goopy, whatever, tweeted this, and then you just saw everyone come out of the woodwork. And they were like, oh, yeah, I was also in that pitch. Or also, submitting
I didn't get the beat.
Demo.
Did you get the beat?
Yeah.
And it's one thing, I think, for the label to put out a request, put out a pitch, but let people know that they might not be picked and that they might not be compensated. Like, just the information up front is enough for producers to have more freedom to consent to this kind of arrangement if they want to.
Exactly.
Right? It's pretty nasty that they were not informed.
Yeah, but again, it's probably not. It's common.
So I guess I can air some dirty laundry.
Ooh, please
spill
do.
it. Spill it.
In the PR world, like, again, similar story, right? For pitching on an agency side. I remember one time we went in to a pitch to, what the hell? I'll smear their name.
We have to do it later.
So we went to a pitch with Salesforce, and we said, like, here's the creative idea. And they decided not to use us. And then, like, 2 months later, we saw them using exactly the creative idea that we gave them.
Exactly.
After they hired someone else. It's like, wow, they just stole our idea.
Yep.
Without paying us. We gave that to them for free. Okay.
That too. This even happens during the interview process at companies. They'll ask you to, like, submit a sample, and not even a sample of your work, but to do a pitch or a project or a whole business proposal. They ask you to provide that, and then they don't pick you, and they use your ideas for free.
Yep. Anyway, so get organized, y'all.
It's not, get organized, fight back. And yes, it is not just Big Hit doing this. It's across K-pop, across like all these big industries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
welcome
we should
to capitalist exploitation.
Yeah.
Right.
Stephanie, do you want to repeat, or do you want to read?
I'll read it. So, by the way, I actually met up with Kris this past week while we were both in New York. So it was really great.
Oh yeah, I
up
saw
with you,
that
Kris.
picture. That was great.
Anyway, so CCTV host and fellow Kpopcast listener, Kris shared in our Slack that in response to this article, he shared, while it isn't the best system, it is common practice to ask a ton of different producers to submit songs to an artist with no guarantee of money unless the song is accepted and used. It's just the nature of the game in a very competitive industry. I don't see the need to publicly complain about it. If you wanted a front end or some sort of commencement fee, he could have asked for his management or his lawyer to negotiate that as part of the deal. So there you go. And by the way, Kris, let's see, what can I say? I don't want to get Kris in trouble, but I think he would allow me to say that he used to work for a Western talent agency. So he knows Western music talent. So
yeah, he's a professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, great to have an industry insider say how it is. That doesn't make me happier about the situation. Right. And yeah, the key point there about like, oh, you could have negotiated. It's like, if there's an inherent power imbalance, then even negotiation. If there, the thing I want to point out though is if there's an inherent information asymmetry, like information is being withheld or one party in the negotiation is being lied to, then, negotiation is not even on the table in this sense. So yeah, I totally agree with the sentiment.
Just another interesting anecdote. I was listening to producers at Kairos Music, and they produce lots of hits for K-pop groups and stuff. But they talk about how in a lot of these, I guess like A&R with these K-pop labels, sometimes with the artists and musicians in the room with them, not only is it them and the label A&R, but it's also other producers who are trying to pitch to get their songs accepted. And a lot of times though, that creates like a, less savory dynamic, because it's like, obviously all the producers are kind of at odds with each other because they want their hook, their part of the song chosen, or their complete song chosen. But I think that at least, the way I believe Kairos described it is like they just go into it like, honest. They compliment other producers. They just get into the zone of like what's best for the music, what's best for like, make it a collaborative session. But I just want to bring up that dynamic, however, persists in the industry.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like Kairos is not desperate enough. They must be financially okay, right?
I don't know about that. I think it's... Anyway, next news headline. So Tamar Herman writes that the K-pop label to EXO and NCT tackles invasive fans as South Korea updates its anti-stalking law. So this is namely SM Entertainment saying, we'll get ya. We'll go for you, Saesangs, if you really take it there. The label says it'll take action against invasive behavior, including by those who follow artists excessively into taxis, pursue them into their homes, or when they do compulsory military service in South Korea, following them into their military base. So typical, like really crazy. I mean,
trash
these are
stalker.
iconic.
That's not even the
Saesang.
craziest stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's a move in the right direction. But like, why? Okay. As much as we knock on like capitalism and everything, I don't know. Maybe this is an anti-capitalism.
I want to hear this.
Why does it have to be SM that has to be the enforcer of this? Why could it not be like another third party that just kind of does this across the board? Because I think like, frankly, maybe why the reason SM was hesitant may have been hesitant to do this until date was just because they didn't want to alienate a lucrative segment of their consumers, and also I'm sure it's costly to persecute.
And that's what Tamar even points out, that like they are long recognized for having this kind of hands-off approach to this toxic fan culture because it's seen as profitable to them.
Right. So like if you can give this like responsibility to like a third party and just let them like enforce it militarily, then like at least the labels don't have to look like the bad guys to the Saesangs. And it just, I think maybe I don't know. I'm just saying this out there. You can be like, Peter Lowe, this sounds really vaguely familiar to past work that you've done, but maybe if they gave it to like a third party nonprofit consortium. That like all
the very specific.
All the labels, putting money into, and then
a partnership on idol security.
Perhaps, something like that. But by the way, partnership on AI, they were not an enforcer of responsible AI. But like I'm saying, like in an alternative universe, maybe they could like give money like as like membership dues, like industry dues to another party that does that enforcement. Because it lifts, rising tide lifts all boats, big and small benefit from it. So
yeah, and we do have to point out, like, this is also in response to the fact that the Korean National Assembly voted on this new law against stalking. So now not only do they have they have the legal backing to be able to go after these people, because like the minimum for like now it's like 3 years. $3 million won fine, so that they have not only their own power to pursue these stalker fans, but also the government to help them too.
Right.
Yeah, and remember, K-pop is Korean soft power, so the government is willing to do anything to make K-pop look good.
Well, that's right. So. Yeah, say it louder. Remind them.
All right.
And
Last news
also
headline
this
on
was
the-
in response to, like, we had issues with Mocha in the past. So not only is this great for the industry, but also other issues in Korea regarding stalker-ish things.
Yep.
Sorry, just wanted to add that. Okay, moving on, right, Peter?
Yeah, so ending on a good note, a happy note, K-pop fans mobilizing for good.
Michaela's like, well, I heard that.
Yes, this is good, but in the context, this is like. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Okay, go for it.
Anyway, so no K-pop on a dead planet, end quote, campaign targets K-pop agencies, artists, and fans to save the earth together. Let's, stop climate meltdown. Let's recycle, reuse, reduce. Kpop4Planet. Anyway, this organization, by the way, I think we actually want to interview them for a future episode on this topic. But Kpop4Planet, they had a, what was it? They crowdsourced a poll on like ways, like theories of change, basically, for ways they can reduce non-sustainable climate change, progressing policies, commercial practices, and I guess fans voted like 99% or something. What was the 95.6% saying that entertainment companies need to be the one.
What? You mean it's not just all of us as individuals?
In our consumer power?
Yeah, I agree with the fans here. Let's turn that spotlight on to the companies, if anyone, because they're doing 99.9% of the CO2 emissions and the damage.
Yeah. And, we even linked, like, they list like, okay, minimizing packaging or plastic on albums and merchandise, or making it out of recyclable materials or materials that are less or more sustainable is a big part, because, K-pop sell albums, they sell merchandise, they sell a lot of things around the world. So it's not just limited to Korea.
Yeah, you guys know, what was it? It wasn't K-pop. I think it was a Chinese thing, but there was this one example of like to vote in some like fan-driven competition. I think like it was on milk packaging. And so all these fans were just buying like gallons and gallons of milk,
right, and
then just dumping it out.
Yeah.
Sounds
then,
like the U.S. government. Oh.
Right. And then throwing away all the packaging waste. They just extract the thing and they just dump out all this food and cause all these like environmental issues just so that they can get votes for this like completely arbitrary, fan contest. I mean, K-pop is certainly susceptible, I think, to very similar practices of like, hey, let's produce this thing en masse. Let's make it a contest, adversarial thing. So we get fans versus fans, get them to buy more, and then buy more out of this like arbitrary mark of thought leadership or like, rank number 1 instead of rank number 2 on this list or chart or whatever. So
yeah, and one might be chosen, but the rest of you are left with garbage. Sounds like another news story we reported on today.
Yeah.
All the song producers.
Yeah, right.
Put it against each other.
Yeah.
Sounds the same to me.
I don't know, like what I would propose as a new model, but I would just suggest that if labels said like, hey, we're going to make this the sustainable album or like eco-friendly album, sure, you're going to pay more for it, but I think fans would be willing to buy it, honestly. Like, I mean, that's the thing with K-pop fans, like, we'll buy it.
Yeah,
because
it's
a K-pop thing, it's the official merchandise.
Specifically for fandoms, they'll buy hundreds and thousands of one album just to get a fan sign or just to be selected for the Music Bank performance on Tuesday or whatever. I know that's wrong. I don't think Music Bank is on Tuesday, but you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of excess that comes with the things that are produced from each comeback to comeback.
Yep.
Yeah, and NFTs are coming into popularity, but those are not good
Right.
for the environment.
Right. I wonder what is the environmental impact of streaming? Stephanie, do you
Yeah,
see those numbers on YouTube?
You're gonna have to talk to our PR team at YouTube. Not authorized to comment on our
Get
environmental
some
impact.
hyper generic answer.
No, it's digital, so there's no impact, right?
Right. Totally.
Because I think I might even be able to get the Google PR response. Google is committed to a carbon neutral and has been
Right.
carbon neutral for several years. To power Google's data centers, they rely on sustainable energy. So the carbon,
Meaning minimum wage workers? Is that a renewable source?
I think
Sorry.
like you know,
No, I know. what you
wind, yeah, etc. So
mean. Wind-powered data centers.
or just anything, yeah, not non-fossil fuel power data centers and streaming. So maybe that's what they would argue is
Okay.
there's no environmental cost of using YouTube, says Google.
No,
PR
not at all.
spokesperson.
It's all in the cloud.
Okay. I think that concludes our episode.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're gonna get in
Climate
trouble.
action
with-
in your area, says Blackpink.
Yeah.
That's a stretch. That's a bit much.
Anyway, I think we're gonna dive into that topic deeper in a future
Yeah,
episode.
there's a
Yeah,
lot.
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Maybe for a K-pop chat, a plug.
Oh yeah, we'll do a K-pop chat. More on that later. Oh, by the way, can I just talk about something completely like random, non sequitur, not related to
Sure.
anything? Okay, so I did this K-pop gig this last weekend.
Yes,
And-
all right.
Yeah, it was really fun. Great to see everyone. Also, shout out, like I'm glad everyone showed up with their like proof of vaccination and everyone was masked. So shout out to that.
Wow.
Beautiful.
But anyway, we'll see how much more we can do that. Honestly, with Delta variant.
Right.
Things might change. But anyway, while I was at this event, I played a couple songs by Brave Girls, and some guy had a Squirtle plushie.
Oh, wow.
he had
Perfect.
it ready just
He
for
was
Brave
ready.
Girls, and he
Born
was
ready.
I
like
know who his bias is.
dancing with Squirtle for all the Brave Girls songs. I just thought that was special. So it was also really interesting to see what songs were really popular. Like a lot of songs from 2020. Everglow is definitely, at least in
Still
the
going strong.
San Jose, hella hyphy Bay Area K-pop fans, they like Everglow for sure.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
Everglow forever.
Also, I got like 5 requests for Alcohol Free by Twice, and like 6 requests for what was it? Paint the Town by Luna. So those were really popular songs.
all girl
Okay,
groups.
Luna.
Yeah, Luna. At least here in the Bay Area. I don't know what it is nationwide or worldwide, but
It's an interesting data point.
Bay
yeah.
Area got taste.
Yeah. A lot of people asked for those songs. So anyway, that concludes our hot issue episode for the
I'm sorry.
Second week of August.
second week of August.
The second week of August, yes.
Let our listeners know where they can find you each online.
I'm at Michaela J. K-pop on Twitter.
I'm at S Parker 2.
I'm at DJ Peter Lowe.
And you can tweet all of us at the Kpopcast.
Lastly, if you want to get to know us better, come make some new friends in the Kpopcast Slack. You can find the link in the description of this episode.
Yeah,
As
let's
well as
keep
sign up for
this
our newsletter,
conversation
so-
going. You know,
Yeah.
we talked about a lot of there's a lot we can touch on with a lot of these topics.
Just
Yeah,
barely
yeah,
scratch
yeah.
the surface.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk with y'all around these things, and you can be like, Peter, you're so wrong. That's a perfectly acceptable answer. And you know what? I think here at the Kpopcast, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that we believe it's a sign of strength when you're able to change your mind
Yes.
and hold a new position based off of new rationale and evidence, and that's usually a good thing.
Yeah, like right now, I will fully admit, I now think alcohol free is Daebak. So there you go, Lie, if you're listening. I know you got me.
There you go, Lie.
Buck.
See you there. Right. Growth.
Growth.
Yeah. Because naturally, you know, like if you're a certain stan, you want to say that you're uncompromising. Anyway, okay. Well, let's end it there.
Yeah,
we'll catch you all again next episode.